Train amusement park fire. June 9th, 1979. An evening of fun and excitement goes up in flames at Sydney's Luna Park as 7 people tragically lose their lives. The public is in disarray, and outrage spreads across the country. An investigation is immediately launched, hitting barrier after barrier until the case runs cold. Now, more than 40 years later, we might finally know the truth. From allegations of police corruption, accusations of arson, and organized crime, this is what really happened at the Sydney Ghost Train Amusement Park fire. The popular Australian Luna Amusement Park is located in Milsons Point, New South Wales. It is one of the oldest theme parks in the country, characterized by its famous 30-foot, 9-meter-wide smiling face and the Arts Deco towers on either side. Luna Park is an iconic landmark, listed on the New South Wales Heritage Register, and has been operating since 1935. With such a long and storied history, Luna Park has become a vital part of the Sydney community. One of its first attractions was the Big Dipper, becoming an instant classic, while the park also served Australian servicemen during the Second World War. Many soldiers would take their families or girlfriends out, but this is where things took a turn for the worse. With so many servicemen, it became a hub for prostitution during the 1940s. Nevertheless, it served a vital purpose during these tough times, with even the neon lights being turned off in the hopes of averting surprise attacks by the Japanese. Throughout the 1970s, the park underwent a series of changes. Not only did it change ownership, but many of the rides were scrapped, being replaced with more modern, American-designed thrill rides. While operating on a week-to-week lease, the park slowly began attracting more and more visitors, with another heyday possibly in sight. Unfortunately, 1979 would prove to be the worst year in Luna Park's storied history. On April 16th, tragedy struck when a steel runner came loose on the Big Dipper, leading to a collision of 2 trains. 13 people were injured, but only a few months later, something far more sinister would happen. On June 9th of the same year, one of the park's main attractions, the Ghost Train, caught fire. This was no ordinary fire, and it spread rapidly, destroying everything in its path. Despite the Ghost Train being in ashes, firefighters managed to prevent it from spreading to other park attractions. As rescue workers searched the charred rubble, they found the bodies of 7 people who tragically lost their lives during the incident. John Godson, his 2 sons, and 4 students from the nearby Waverley College would unfortunately not make it, leading to the park's immediate shutting down. Immediately, authorities kicked into action, starting an investigation. But what the initial investigation found just didn't make sense. At the time of the incident, the New South Wales Police, backed up by the Sydney newspapers, reported that the fire originated from an electrical fault. Kevin Sidney Anderson, coroner at the Coroner's Court of New South Wales, issued his findings almost 4 months later, on September 3rd, 1979. According to his statement, the cause of the fire cannot conclusively be stated, which automatically meant that he had accepted expert testimony. He continued by exclaiming that ride patrons often ignored the no smoking signs near the ride, and many had the habit of discarding food wrappings and other litter. In his official report, Anderson concluded that the most probable cause of the fire was ignition of flammable litter by a cigarette or match. Nevertheless, this explanation was accepted for many years, with the blame eventually shifting to Luna Park itself. In the same report, Anderson said that the park's management failed to develop adequate fire suppression programs, despite such a recommendation being made by them by the North Sydney Council and Fire Department about 18 months earlier. After more than 2 decades and numerous claims made, which range from faulty wiring to sabotage, the real cause of the fire was never truly established. But this would all change in May of 2007. The full coroner's report will be in the description for anyone interested in the initial findings. In an interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, an unlikely woman brought up something that turned the focus back to the 1979 incident. The woman, Anne Buckingway, niece of a prominent Sydney underworld figure, Abe Saffron, went on air and said something shocking. For those interested, the full interview from the Sydney Morning Herald is linked in the description. She continued by saying that her uncle, Abe Saffron, was the man responsible for the fire. This made sense, with Saffron allegedly being involved in 7 other arson cases in the 2 years after the Luna Park incident. But why would someone try and destroy an amusement park was probably something many listeners were thinking. Buckingham continued, suggesting that it was all part of a plan. The aim of the destruction was in a bid to force the park to hand control of the park's lease to the underground kingpin. But she continued by suggesting that the 7 deaths were not intended. Anne Buckingway would later deny that she made any of these statements, demanding that the story not be published. However, the Herald had her original statements and tape recording during the interview. With these new allegations coming to light, reopened investigations were what many expected. Unfortunately, the New South Wales Attorney General said that new evidence was needed to do so. This made it impossible, with all these allegations being unproved speculation. But one organization was not about to let this go. ABC News is one of the biggest media broadcasting companies in Australia. In March of 2021, they released a 3-part investigative series led by journalist Carol Meldrum Hanna, titled Exposed: The Ghost Train Fire. Depending on where you're from, it is possible to find this on Netflix. As was expected from a top journalist, they managed to find some of the survivors and many of the people who were in attendance on that fateful day. It also focused heavily on the park artist, Martin Sharp, who had a profound spiritual awakening after this event. But the television program could not truly delve deep into the Australian underground. In its conclusion, it found that Luna Park was a web of criminality. Whilst no concrete evidence was shared, it suggested that a former New South Wales Premier, who cannot be named, and a High Court Justice, both with ties to Saffron, were connected to the incident. ABC continued its report by explaining what they thought had happened on that fateful June day. They suggested that Saffron ordered an outlaw motorcycle club to start the fire. His goal was to have the park destroyed and gain control over the lease on the Crown land. However, the exact method used for the fire to start was never revealed to the public. In the end, the story was proven to be a little bit of an overstatement by ABC. However, they uncovered suspicious evidence, which exposed the incompetence of the police investigation. It also revealed how New South Wales policymaking benefited Saffron, allowing him to retain more power in his circle of corruption. With all this compelling new evidence, a second investigation was opened. Strike Force Sedgman was established to conduct a review of the previous investigation, and $1 million Australian reward was also offered for anyone with fresh and significant information. As of the writing of this video, the reward remains unclaimed. Teresa O'Sullivan from the New South Wales State Coroner and the driving factor behind this operation also said that once the report is finalized, they would choose whether a second inquest is to be held. As of this video, a redacted report has been released to the families influenced by the incident. Unfortunately, nothing has been sent to the public. Whether it was gross negligence by the amusement park and its staff or sabotage, it remains a tragedy that so much life was lost for what? Nothing. Whether the public will ever truly know what happened on that fateful day in June is also rather slim. For anyone interested in a deeper look into this horrific tragedy, we recommend watching the ABC documentary Exposed. Thank you for watching this video, and we would love to see your comments.